Okay. Well, thanks for hosting this conversation and dialogue about artificial intelligence. I think it's an important discussion to have because I do realize that there are a lot of questions about what AI basically allows us to do, what it can allow us to do, and maybe some concerns or some celebrations about those abilities. And I basically learned about AI after graduate school because when I was in graduate school, ChatGPT, which is a chatbot, just came into existence in 2022. And I remember worrying about what it was and what it did, and I didn't know anything about it. So I sort of stayed away from it. And then I decided to figure out what it was because I thought, well, I noticed it was helping friends of mine with a lot of different things, and I wondered if it could help me. So I looked into it and sort of did some research and figured out how to use it, and realized that these chatbots, which are a subset of artificial intelligence, can be very supportive in specific things. And I think it's the specificity in using AI that I really want to try to talk about today because and I also want to hear what people are thinking about it because like that's important. Um, what I found is that for me, I watched some YouTube videos by people within academia who use chatbots such as ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude to help assist in research and help assist in the thinking process. And I want to be clear that we really cannot allow AI to do the work for us or think for us. I think we need to look at AI as a potential supportive assistant that could maybe help our thinking and maybe clarify our thinking about things, but not to replace our brain. And I think that's what ends up happening is that people look at AI as this thing that will replace the job, replace the thinking, and replace what we as people do. But AI obviously was created by human beings and continues to be created by human beings because of computer science. And computer science is its own field of which computing AI fall under. And as we know, we don't have computers without human input. So we don't have AI without human input. And I think really connecting to this idea that AI is dependent on human activity maybe can quell some of the fear, hopefully. Now, that being said, like with anything, you have people who are going to use these tools for only their benefit, like where you take the voice of an actor, for example, and you try to manipulate a movie and you don't give credit where it's due, and that's plagiarism. People in academia know all about plagiarism, authors know about it. So there's really a need for integrity and for dignity around AI, and I think that's some of the conversation that's happening, at least at Loyola Marymount University, where I went to school. Within ethics departments, I think across universities, they are talking about how do we understand this tool? How do we keep, ethics and dignity at the forefront and integrity? So the ways in which I use chatbots, well, like I said, part of it is research, and I'm going to give you some prompts that I use. Part of it is writing a cover letter. Part of it is editing a resume. And so what I do is I basically, chatbots work because we provide what's called a prompt. And what we're doing is we are giving these chatbots data or information. And these chatbots take that information, understand it, analyze it, and basically give us a response. And the beauty is because it's a chatbot, which means it's dialogue based, we get to tell the chatbot, oh, okay, instead of four, put in five. or instead of red, try blue. So we're working with it, and it'll then give us a new response. And we can use that for whatever we need it for. For example, like if I write a cover letter, I might say, here is the job title, here is the job description, and I copy and paste it. And I say, like, I need a cover letter that includes my experience at X company for Y years, including tasks 1, 2, and 3. And then the chatbot will create a cover letter, and you can always edit the cover letter. You can copy and paste it into a document. You can edit it as you see fit, but what it does is it gives you a template. And I think if you see it as a template creator, it becomes a starting point, a foundation. It doesn't necessarily, like I said, it doesn't replace or do the work for you, but it certainly takes the stress away from having to think up a cover letter from nothing, which I'm not very good at anyway. So with that, it's been very helpful. I like to think of chatbots kind of like an analogy of a dishwasher. The dishwasher washes your dishes. It speeds up that process. It makes it efficient, but you still have certain dishes that obviously you wash manually. It doesn't take over your entire life necessarily, but a dishwasher has certainly automated things and made life easier in ways that I think manual dishwashing sometimes can be frustrating. But we know that dishwashers, for example, are created by the designers, the engineers that put these machines together. That's one analogy I thought of this morning. I was thinking about how do I make AI this accessible thing? Um, and so those are the ways that I've used it. Um, I'm curious to know if anybody else uses it. How do you use it? Where do you find it helpful? Do you use it? Why not? What are you afraid of? All those kinds of things.
So I'm thinking that in this Zoom environment, we probably need to do raised hands so that we're not
Okay.
talking over each other. And I see Louise, so go ahead, Louise.
Okay, I just wanted to say I used it once. I had to create an Eventbrite for church, and it was super helpful. I mean, I just said it's this, and it wrote out this great thing, and I could use it. But other than that, I don't really have that many uses for it. And when I first heard about it, I thought, oh no, another new thing to learn. I don't want any part of it. But I did use it once, but I don't really do that much writing of things, like creating an essay or, I just don't use it that much. So, but it's, oh, and then this image back here in Zoom, I like to post videos, it says adjust background and effects. And they have this here, create virtual backgrounds with AI companion, and you can generate. And so I click generate and it says, anyway, you can choose a style, and then I did it. And so I like that. It's really pretty.
Oh, it's pretty. I like it. Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm becoming more open, but I don't have that much use for it. So, okay, I pass. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Darya. Very well said. Very well said.
Anybody else like to speak? Oh, Jean, are you talking?
Yeah, me?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is fantastic. I think it's the best thing since dishwashers, and I don't even have a dishwasher. I've embraced it because someone suggested I do, that I take a look. I was just looking at it as an observer, and I used it for a piece of writing that I had done and asked chat to improve on it, and I was astounded. So I use it as a brainstormer. I use it for editing. I use it for improving my own thinking, for ideas, for copy editing, check my spelling, check my tenses, takes away all the tedious work, but it also, I found, just stretches your own thinking. Even if it, for example, it depends how you embrace it, of course. So if I get it to rewrite something for me, I can read it and say, oh, I can learn from it what it has written, because it will do it in an advanced form, but not always. Depending on, as Darya said, the prompt that I put in, there's no way I would just put something in and accept that as written. I mean, I have my input, I have my own outline, I have my own ideas. So you have to cultivate what chat says around your ideas and ask, but you can keep asking, and it depends how you ask chat. You can ask it to act as an editor, you can ask it to act as a brainstormer, you can ask it to improve on what you've written and give me some more options so I can choose from those. And it's just endless improvement and endless expanded thinking. That's my sense.
Wow.
So it's like having an editor or just a partner on your shoulder, constantly being able to better what you're doing. And it's not just writing. I mean, it writes songs. I've got a friend that's using it to write songs now and music, but you still have to have your original ideas to put in there. But you can put in with something really basic and then just completely keep working on it, asking the right questions of chat. I use Chat GPT, and until it gets to what you want it to be.
That's interesting. And I think maybe after each person talks, we could have questions too, because I have a question for Jane. So Jane, when you said that you put in some writing and it improved your writing, are you talking about style or editing, spelling and punctuation?
Not necessarily that. It's just more, it said it better. It's more expansive. I have a novel that
vocabulary or
yes, that, and sort of style of the character, how the character might speak. I have a novel that I wrote that got almost published, but ended up being rejected from the common publishing stream. And I put some of that in, and I just thought, oh gosh, I can see now why it needed improvement. Chat helped me see how much better it could have been. I was perhaps rambling. I didn't have an understanding of tension in the novel, and that created that tension. And I just learned from it. It's
wow.
I don't work without it now. I'm constantly going back and forth. In the second novel that I'm writing, I'm constantly using it. And I can see the results because my instructor will have very little to do at the end. There might be some stuff that she thinks should come out or be expanded on, but there aren't, spelling mistakes or anything like that she has to deal with anymore. It's the higher level crafting of the chapters that she's looking at. So, and it's just so much faster. The work is so much faster. As Darya said, having to think, okay, where do I start with a cover letter? Well, I've also learned from another program I'm doing to prep your page, just put down your ideas, but just putting down those ideas and throwing those in chat is a big start as well. That's a prompt, and it'll give you something. And then you're okay, but I've had some experience here. So can you add that in? And now Chat GDP has chat for Canvas. It's called 4 plus Canvas, and it will give you your screen on one side, your script on one side, and then on the left-hand side, you can talk to chat GPT, and it'll just rewrite your script on the right. Whereas if you're just using 4, it sort of regurgitates everything again. But this one just sort of, you work over there on the left, and on the right, your script just sort of recycles, and you can point out where you want changes. It's really, it's not perfect. I had an argument with Chat GTP the other day. I wanted it in a certain format. I wanted this paragraphing being 131. So that's the ghostwriting I'm working on, Jean, and it had to be the formula for easy reading is 1 sentence, 3 sentences, 1 sentence, 1 sentence, especially when you're reading online. and it gave me just this big block of text. And I said, that's not 131. And make it 131. It came back, this is 131. I said, no, it's not. And it never did. It never did give me 131. So it's almost like we're beta testing it still, but just fantastic, just fantastic. And I was at a meeting of a reunion of my university, Antioch University, and sat down with somebody and started to talk about chat using these AI bots, and he said, "Oh, I'll never." He's a therapist. He said, "Oh, I'll never." And I said, "Well, why not?" "Well, ego, I suppose." I said, "Just try it. Just embrace it. I'm sure it's the same as everything else that we've had through our generations. The telephone, the motor car. We should still have horses." People were saying all that sort of stuff. So it's just a matter of overcoming our own fears.
Very interesting. Thank you. No more questions? Okay, Craig.
After sitting with a group of young African-American men over the weekend, there was concern as to the ability for it to capture image and mislabel or misrepresent them. And although I couldn't provide them any answers, that concern seemed to hang over the room. So I'm wondering specifically, is there anything to safeguard the image? Let's say we all pose for a group picture, and it remains on file, and somebody else uses that picture to more or less mislabel, and they use artificial intelligence to mislabel them as members of a gang or for some other nefarious person. And I'm wondering specifically, is there any safeguard that prevents that from happening? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't know enough to speak to that. That's one of my concerns as well. So anybody want to respond to that? Darya?
Yeah, I mean, part of that is what those who are working within AI, within the computer science programs and the ethics programs, those are some of the conversations that are happening, because that comes down to the way that AI is used. And you're right, there's incredible bias. There is an androcentric bias within AI. There is a Eurocentric bias within AI, and those are very real concerns that I have myself. And I think that the more that people speak out about it and talk about it and show examples of where AI is being used in a biased and racist way, the more pushback, in other words, that we give the tech industry, the more something could be done about it. But those conversations are happening. I know that a former professor of mine, although he's a theologian, he wrote an entire paper that he presented at a conference that specifically deals with the bias of AI and the worry as that connects to, say, like the Catholic tradition of which he is a part. But yes, those conversations are happening.
Are you aware, one other thing, are you aware of anything, that a person of color has more or less addressed outside of what it is they've done to more or less address that, so the conversation isn't as lengthy and the solution is more at hand to that end?
I'm not totally
Okay.
aware right now.
Good enough. Well enough.
Okay. Okay, any more questions for Craig? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer Craig's question either. That seems sort of out of the area that I'm using AI in. I know how to create some pictures in DALL-E, which is part of Chat GPT. But I have found biases in chat, not so much in Claude AI, but I did something in chat that I asked it a question around my fictional character, and it took my fictional character to be a real person, because my characters are teenagers, and said that would violate their censorship rules or something. So then the question was something like, how could my teenage boy get closer to this girl that he likes? And it censored me. So then all I had to do was say, I'm writing a fictional story. This is my character, and he wants to get close to this character. And then it gave me this whole spiel of different options. So definitely is it has biases and censorships in it, some more than others. But again, I think it's how you obviously with that one, it was how I phrased my question.
Fred, Andre had his hand up first, but
Okay, go
is
ahead.
this in response to Craig?
Yeah, hey Craig, I think I might be able to shed some light on some of the your question a little bit. To to give you a little more context, the ChatGPT and these other languages models, they're called large language models, which means essentially that they're fed information and then they parse that information, glean what they can from it, and then apply it to language. So when you type in, hey, I want a photo of a ninja in the Middle Ages, it will go through all these different all this context that it has within its, for lack of a better term, brain, and it will parse that information and then regurgitate it to you. So it will show you what it thinks a ninja will look like in the Middle Ages, right? So in the background, there will be a middle-aged castle. And then, of course, the ninja will look like what it believes and what it's been told a ninja looks like, which it could be caricature of a race. It could be a caricature of a type of person. So it doesn't necessarily have the discretion to make decisions upon whether or not it's has like a prejudice at this moment, and there's no checks and balances for that.
No, thank you.
Could I follow up on that?
Sure.
Uh, when we say ninja, we're talking about something that is as cut and dry as a figure, in which an image has already been assigned.
Correct.
Am I correct with that assessment?
Yes, I could have said samurai.
What I'm speaking of is something more modern in a sense that, I mean, let's say for the sake of argument, I was to type in Crip, all right, and pretty much most people recognize that that's a ferocious gang. Okay, would it indeed more or less, understanding that brain source, come back with an image of a young black man?
Oh,
Right. That's a great question. It would probably parse all the images in what that term looked like through, like, say, Google Images, right? You throw up Google Images, basically take all the Google images that you see, it's going to basically parse those images and then regurgitate whatever is on those images. So, for instance, like when you type in a rapper, show me a picture of a rapper standing in a forest, right?
Okay.
You can use this on Dolly,
Well,
Chat.
wait a minute. Look,
Yeah.
taking that a step further, that rapper could be anybody between Ice Cube and Tupac
Right.
or Dre, right?
Right.
Is it as specific as that, or could it broaden it out to include somebody like Eminem and or Vanilla Ice?
Sure.
You see where I'm going with this?
So you can specify, like, I want a picture of Eminem, or you can specify I want a picture of a Caucasian rapper.
Okay.
And it'll give you, like, it'll it'll spit you out an image that looks just like most of these public figures.
Okay.
But with that said, if you don't specify, then it'll generalize.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'd love to continue here with the conversation. It's super exciting. And Darya, thank you for leading this. Love to share some of my history with AI and some of what I use it for currently. And I'm in it basically every single day, specifically ChatGPT,
Mm.
if that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Darya's hand. Did you want to respond, Darya?
Yeah, I wanted to respond, Andre, thanks for your clarification and the nuance of that these chatbots are large language models that are working off of a pre-existing data set. And, when you talk about what it then generalizes based on what it has been given, that's an important nuance to really understand, because then it helps us determine what information is missing. What can those who are supplying the data within the field of AI, what can they add to it? And then how do we as the user think about our interactions with AI given that? So I think I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
And I'm going to jump in here since I don't see any more hands right this second. Going back to what Craig and Andre were talking about, what concerns me is that the data that's already on the internet is already biased. And so the data that chat is going to use is biased data. So it's a little bit like a statistical study that's based on bad data. And it doesn't have to pick up bad data, but it can. And so that's one of my concerns is that, when you go back to Craig's question about putting in crip, first of all, you might actually see pictures of crippled people because crip is also a word that's used for crippled people. And so you'd have to be more specific about it. But, if somebody had posted now, a question that I have is all this information also from like Instagram and TikTok and so on? Can ChatGPT search through all of that and pick up pictures that people have posted? Because that worries me. Does anybody know?
I believe that Meta is its own walled garden, meaning that they protect their own data. And, each one of these big tech companies, they have their own large language models that they use. So for instance, you'd have to go into the Meta large language model. I forget kind of what they call that, what the name of that one is, but for instance, Claude is a large language model that's based off of Twitter. So it will parse all the information off of Twitter and regurgitate, which is such a terrible word to use, but essentially spit out. It's kind of what it is. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, for example, if somebody who was, a white nationalist posted a picture of some black men, said something really racist about it, then Chat GPT, it seems to me, can pick that up as factual rather than an opinion of somebody. You see what I'm saying? And is that close to what you were talking about, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, to hop on to the idea that the stuff is already biased. The base, the database is already biased. Okay. And if somebody has an ill intent to utilize that, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, well, how successful could that utilization be? Because let's face it, this is already a divided nation. Trump, okay, speaks lies and is believed by at least no less than 40% of the populace. So, I mean, when you add in the ingredients of artificial intelligence to that, how much further down this rabbit hole can we go when somebody who is credible in some eyes is more or less hanging a narrative. They
Right.
say fake news.
And I'm just going to add to you, and then Jane. I saw Jane's hand. I'm going to add to you that people can add lies to the database. So, things that they know are lies,
Exactly.
or that are just terrible characterizations, like that floating island of garbage, that somebody said about Puerto Rico. It's like that's probably somewhere on the internet now, because people are complaining about it, or they're posting it to, to advertise their opinion. And so, ChatGPT could pick up that sentence somewhere. So this is something that really concerns me. Jane, and then Darya and Andre.
I'm just wondering, Andre, would you be interested in sharing a screen and doing a demonstration of chat and DALL-E? Or if you don't want to, I can try it so that we can actually demonstrate and put in a question and see what we get.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think we're talking about some different levels here. I don't think you can, I don't think chat will bring in an image, a photo from somewhere. I know DALL-E creates one for you, but I don't think it brings in images.
Really?
So I may be wrong. So what do you think, Andre?
He's muted.
Oh, here I am. Yeah, I'd be happy to share my screen. Let me see if I can do it here.
Oh, I need to make you a co-host. Let me do that.
Can we get Darya's comment before we launch into this?
Yep,
project?
Darya.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to your concern, Jean. That's actually a conversation I had with a professor last week, because we are working together to develop kind of a way to use AI to help graduate students think more clearly. And part of what this professor told me was that the importance is going to be on the person who is using AI tools needs to have critical thinking skills that allow them to notice the bias and to pick it out and really critically evaluate what these chatbots are giving us back. And I think part of that is going to be in addressing how education functions in society, because I think this is both about, yes, the input of data into chatbots, but also the way that we think. This is why, for example, critical race theory is so important. This is why, obviously, an accurate portrayal of history and a multi-perspective point of view in history matters, because otherwise you are going to have people who will just read anything from the chatbot and go, oh, okay, I guess Puerto Rico is defined as an island of trash, when we know that's absolutely not true.
Right.
So it's using critical thinking, but that's a more complicated discussion in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a whole layer for education to start educating students how to think.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
So Andre, it looks like we're done with our conversation. So go ahead and share your screen if you'd like to.
Sure. Let me see here. Okay. So here's my tab open. Here's ChatGPT 4.0. I can change the model here. So I have GPT Mini. This is faster for quick tasks, specifically for writing. And then I don't know, this is the GPT-4 legacy model. I don't know why you'd use that, but I pay for the 4.0, and I said use DALL-E to make me an image of a samurai. Is that kind of what you guys wanted me to do, is mess around with the images a bit? Or
I think maybe that Jane's suggestion was to show how to make some writing better.
Oh, for sure. So yes, I can jump into that. Before I do that, I love to use this tool for prospecting, specifically in business. So I oftentimes will ask it to make me a list of, say, the best restaurants in Santa Monica based on reviews. So I can give you kind of a demo of that if you'd like, or I can also, we can jump into what Jane was saying about how she uses it for writing. So
Well, I'm going to ask you a quick question that will actually
yeah,
answer that question of yours. Search engines already do that, right? What are some of the great restaurants in Culver City? And I can get a list from Google or wherever, whatever search engine I'm looking at. But I can't use it to edit an essay. So maybe let's do the essay thing.
okay.
How is chatbot different from Google in listing those restaurants?
So I can have it create a grid is what I like to ask. So I say create a create a grid of restaurants in my spelling is so bad today, but essentially give me their phone number, address,
How about price range?
yeah, price range and ratings. Give me 45 of them. So I work a lot with like spreadsheets and such, and sometimes I'll do prospecting for friends or families, businesses specifically that want to build websites for people, and we'll reach out to restaurants to see if they're interested in updating their site. And this normally works pretty quickly, but for some reason it's a little slow today.
Well, it has to go through Zoom. You think maybe that's part of it?
Oh yeah.
Maybe not.
I don't know
No,
if that's part of it.
no.
Anyway, I like to basically use this grid because it just has everything and I throw it into an Excel sheet and I can share it through Google Sheets. It's super convenient. So especially if you have like 3 or 4 people within a group, you can you just share that link on Google Sheets and it allows everybody to see the data.
You could do a college search like this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Tuition.
absolutely. You can even, okay, here we go.
Oh, look at that.
So here is like the sheet, right? And it has everything broken down. Here's the rating on this side. So I love to use it for prospecting for business.
And I think that the difference here between, say, Google, you'd have to go through, you get your list of things. It doesn't present this to you like this. You have to look through what it's.
I'd have to make my own grid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then I can give you another example. I was just writing this email and it's basically asking if it's an email asking a close friend of mine whose dad is in the tech space to basically I'd like her father to maybe take me on as like I could be like his mentor, right? And it's a touchy email where it's like you want to strike the right tone and you want to still be I wanted to still be playful with him because he's a really nice, lighthearted guy. I didn't want it to come across too aggressive. So I literally can put into GPT and say, hey, write a playful email that's punchy and fun. I want to become a mentor.
I think you want him to be your mentor. Is that right?
Yeah, sorry.
The mentor is the higher in the hierarchy.
Him to be my mentor. And then I can go to his website. And this is his website right here.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
And I can say, okay, this is everything he does. This is everything he's done. and here's his email. And I just literally Command A, right? Control
Oh,
select all and then copy. And I go back and I just hold down shift and then return, and I get a little space, and then I paste it in there. And then it'll just crank out this email that's punchy and fun, and it strikes the exact tone that I want without having to like really hem and haw all about it. And I say, okay, this is like pretty good, but it's a bit wordy. And then I just say, make this 150 words. And it just does it. And it's just Jane's hit it on the head, where it's just saves so much time and effort and energy. And like I would have to really like focus on this, that I'm not striking the wrong tone, I'm not being too pushy. And it's just like fun, and it's just I'm in this every single day, like for hours.
Me too. But also, Andre, I mean, you had to think about that. You could have accepted the first one and just sent it off, but if you weren't thinking, but you have to read through it. Is it the right time? It was way too long. I mean, we're still thinking.
Yeah.
And we're not letting, only if you don't think do you let chat take over.
Completely.
Yeah.
I can also like, if I wanted to add my business, I could pull up my email, select or my website, and I just select all the copy on it. So I can go like this: digital, oceanparkdigital.com is me. And these are like our services that we provide. Oh, I don't know if it's stalling out or what. Okay, so here are the services we provide. We create value. We have advertising campaigns. We develop websites. Pretty basic site. I again control all, select all, copy, and then just toss it in there.
Wow, I didn't know you could do all that much with it.
And you're like, hey, this is make sure Ted knows more, or like, give Ted more context about my company. Here's my brand. And then paste it in there. Now this is the weird thing is when you select all, it has like, all the menu items and stuff in there. It says like, let's connect. Like, I don't need that, but it has like the bulk of what I want. And then at the bottom here is like, it gets all weird and choppy. This is, excuse me. We don't need like any of this, but even if I left this in here, this is all like the menu at the bottom. I don't need that, right? And just now it's going to crank out the same email with the same tone, but it's going to give him more context. So this is just like scraping the surface of some of the ways that I use this tool.
Yeah.
wow, that's very impressive.
I can drop the
Especially
other.
when you have large amounts of information to digest before you
Yes.
do something.
I love to use this as a summarizer as well. So I'll go into YouTube. Let's see if it'll load. So I have this thing in YouTube. I don't know if everyone has this or if it's just me, but like it'll say transcript right here. It'll say transcript. If I drop this down, this is ChatGPT for YouTube. It's a Chrome extension, I think. I literally can go right here and copy the entire transcript of this whole YouTube video that's 24 minutes long, right?
Wow.
And then I just come to GPT and I'm like, summarize this into 500 words. And then I drop that giant transcript from this 24-minute video. And it's just like, okay, here's 500 words.
Yeah, amazing.
And I'm like, oh my God, I just saved myself a whole half hour of
Yeah.
like having to sit through this. And it does look like it's giving me more than 500 words. But I think you guys kind of get what I'm going for.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So, getting back to Craig's question, could you ask for information about crypt
Sure.
and
Let's
photos if they have any?
sure let's get crazy. I
Well,
got
if it interfaces with YouTube, well, yeah, you go ahead.
okay. What
There are clips on YouTube.
okay, I'll say
While he's getting that, I see hands. I see both Darya and
oh
Craig.
yeah.
Do you want to talk while he's bringing that up? Craig, are you just waiting for him to bring up what he's going to show?
Yeah.
Darya, you want to say something?
Oh look, sorry, go ahead, Darya.
Yeah, I wanted to add in that I also
Okay.
use chat to basically condense ideas that I have for reviews that I may write about something, and then sometimes I will, like you did, give it a word limit and say this needs to be no more than 10 sentences, or it needs to be based on the following, and I will do what you did, where I will copy and paste information from a website and it will just summarize instantly. And then, you can ask it to, take out certain things and redo the answer.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, see the censorship here or limits.
I cannot create images related to gangs or any violent organizations.
That answers my question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but how about let's see some text about the Crips.
Oh, okay. So it it won't let me it won't give me anything for a public figure either.
You can't get an image of 50 Cent.
Well,
Yeah, I think what that was, I think that was a relationship with the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild, because that specific idea was part of the contract that Screen Actors Guild and Screenwriters Guild wanted. I'm almost certain that's what that's connected to.
So I think it will show like race if you ask,
ask it to, yeah.
but it does seem to have more checks and balances than say even like a few months ago.
Yeah.
But I had something interesting in my fiction. I had created a samurai, and I gave it, in order to differentiate its language from my character, I gave it broken English. So it was I was thinking, Karate Kid and the old samurai television series. And so I gave it this broken English, and Chat GTP didn't say anything, but my teacher picked it up, who lives in South Africa, picked it up as being racist and stereotypical, and then she did check herself and said, I do live in South Africa, so I'm really conscious of racism. But so that was sort of a reverse. Chat didn't say anything about that. It didn't check me on it. Yet a human person, a person did.
Mm.
Huh.
Wow. So many different things to think about.
Yeah.
Another thing, go
Andre,
ahead.
can you ask for what are the major gangs in Los Angeles?
Prominent gangs, Andre.
Right, prominent. Prominent.
Did I spell that wrong? Did I say pomegranate?
Yeah, it's a pomegranate.
Oh my God, now you guys know my weakness is spelling.
Yeah, see, okay. But look what they did, though. Look what they did. They said Bloods and they said Grape Street Crips. You see what I'm saying?
No, what
That's the problem.
No, tell us more detail.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to say crip, the crip is the larger group. But what they're doing is they're localizing it. They don't have just crips. They have crips and then they have different versions of them. You see where I'm going?
Well, then you have to be more specific. I mean, it doesn't give you everything all at once, Craig. You
Well,
have to
no,
then...
but see, that's just it. They only do that for crips. They don't do that for bloods.
Well, can you ask
If
it, Andre?
you scroll down, you won't see, anything in the way of bloods.
And what bothers you about that? I'm not getting it.
Because what it does is, whereas they focus on one group being a gang, then they come down and section it off into what kind of crip it is. It's not just a crip, he's a special kind of crip.
So you have to ask like this list for the blood affiliated gangs.
Right. But see, you didn't do that.
But
He
yeah,
just said,
but Craig, you
Or
can't do it
gang.
all at once. It won't do it all at once. You've got it. That's where your thinking comes in. You realize I have to go deeper. I have to go deeper. I've noticed that in my work. It'll give you a sort of a general, and then if you want more questions, then you've got to ask more questions. It doesn't give you everything all at once. It
I
depends
see.
on
Okay.
what you're asking.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to interrupt because I think that what Craig is getting at, and Craig, you can correct me, is that what you get, even though you can ask more questions, can slant your thinking in one direction versus another.
Exactly.
And it could be prejudicial against some people because they're not on the list or because they are on the list. I think that's
what he did is he said the 25
most prominent.
most dangerous.
No,
Prominent.
prominent.
And without doing this, he number one on it was Crip, but on the number 6 on it was Grape Street Crip. Okay, so wait a minute. How are Crips more dangerous than Grape Street Crips?
Craig, it's not
both
dangerous.
Crips.
He said prominent.
But I don't think it really matters at this point.
Well, okay, wait a minute. If you look at
Here's what I'm saying, Jean.
okay,
In respect to this, if we're looking at what a prominent gang is and it's based on something that's data-based, okay, then it'll spit out something that they know to be true. But then they season it themselves by saying, well, this group isn't as dangerous as the other group. Now, is that a fact, or is that just something that it's more or less spitting out?
yeah, I get that. But what I wanted to point out, Andre, can you go back to where that list was? There's a description of how that list was made, and it says that it was these gangs have gained significant attention due to their size, influence, and activities. And it seems like that's how the data was collected. So it may be kind of like, and I'm not saying this is a good thing necessarily. It might be like number 1 is United States of America, and then number 6 is California, because California is like, like its own country. So I think that it depends on the question that's asked, just like Jane and Andre are saying.
So to further that, if the question is asked and it's manipulative, obviously the result or the answer is also manipulative.
Yeah, it can be very prejudicial. It can be. Any information can be prejudicial. That's the problem. And people are not, and what we see in this election is that people cannot check whether something is true or not true. I mean, we're seeing that a lot now.
Right.
Interesting.
It's all very interesting. We're getting close to the end. Andre, I'm really excited that you joined us because you've given us so much. And
yeah, I thank you guys so much for having me. I want to share one more thing before we end it, if that's all right.
Sure.
There's an incredible index of AI tools called Futurepedia that I'd like to pull up for you if that's okay.
Sure.
Andre, one other question.
Yeah.
This direct software is linked to YouTube?
OpenAI.
YouTube was a separate AI, a different
So yeah, ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI, which is owned by what's his name? Altman.
Okay.
I
but there
forget
was
his
a
first
chat
name.
capacity, Craig, in YouTube. There's an AI capacity in YouTube. That's how you
AI capacity in YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
but it's not
So
this. It's not the same as this, is it? Is it, Andre? It's a different.
yeah, I think Meta has its own large language model that it uses.
So what's this one we're looking at?
So this is an index of AI tools, and I've been so impressed by this. They have a whole YouTube channel. It's called futurepedia.io. And you can kind of go in and you click on AI tools and you're like, you know what? Like I want to, you know, I want to do research, or I want to edit video, or I need business tools. And they're all kind of broken into these digestible parts. And it's to me, it's so fascinating, all of
Yeah.
these different tools, because you can really get down into exactly what you're looking for. ChatGPT is really, I mean, it's the biggest player in this AI wave, but it also, there's just so much that there's just so many other tools out there as well. So like here's a presentation tools for pitch decks. I've haven't heard of half of these. You can filter it by if you want it for free, or you want a free trial, or you want to whatever. And you can kind of go into this and you're like, okay, this one has 534 bookmarks and 17 reviews. Let's click in and it'll show you, okay, this is a writing and engaging content tool for formatting presentations, it looks like. Here are the categories. It's a free trial. You can visit the site right here. There's an explanation, pros and cons. Futurepedia is just so powerful. I've found so many awesome tools on here, including like presentations.ai, which I use on a weekly basis to like present reporting for businesses. I can drop this in the chat so you guys have it.
Was that IO?
Yeah. I can
Okay.
drop this in the chat. Let's see. I'll just end my share.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great.
So does anybody have anything to say in closing? I'm going to have to go pretty quickly.
Darya has her hand up.
Darya?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly respond to Craig's differences in the gang classification. This is another thing that came up in my discussion with the professor, is that, you know, as we're putting in these prompts and we're asking it specific questions, we may need to be even more specific in our classification of whatever it is we're asking. Because, you know, these large language models do kind of work on a generative, generalized data set. And this is where your own, I think, knowledge or expertise on a subject is going to really make a difference. But it can help in that. It can help in helping us get more specific. I've even had questions of chat where I will say, ask me specific questions to generate my own thinking, and then I can use that to put in different prompts. So it's
Wow.
really a back and forth. It's not just giving and then just accepting whatever it gives you. It is most beneficial when we are working with it and we're
Yeah.
constantly editing our own questions and asking it to ask us.
Yep. I agree.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
This has been fascinating. Wow, Darya, thank you for starting
Thank
up
you,
this.
Daria. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank
And
you,
thank you
Andre.
to everyone for coming and for asking wonderful questions. And maybe we'll do a part 2. So, Andre, can you put your email in the chat, and I'll email you if we do another one, or if we want to ask you anything about.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me toss it in here.
We're affiliated with the church in Ocean Park.
Yeah, I'm right up this. I'm right up the street. I'm on Fifth and Hill.
Ah,
Hmm.
I probably pass where you are when I drive to church.
Yeah, I probably walk past you every day.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful church. I've only peeked inside once, and but I love being part of a community. And if I can help anybody answer any questions, or if you need any resources, please feel free to reach out.
Well, we're definitely trying to promote our church in different ways. And what is this last thing?
Oh, this is an LLM that actually combines. I just found this the other week. It's so interesting. It's only $10 a month, and it combines all the top LLMs. So you have ChatGPT, you have Sonnet, you have Llama, which is Meta LLM, you have Gemini Pro, and then something called Abacus. And it like somehow they've combined all the different LLMs, and they charge you only $10 a month. So like if you asked GPT and you didn't get the answer that you wanted, or you wanted something a little more detailed, you can dive deeper.
What is an LLM?
Oh, large language models.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Well,
I must confess to being a little bit overwhelmed by
yeah.
so much information, but it's been really, really useful. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Okay,
Have a
thanks.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.